West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. And as you can see from the thumbnail and the title of this particular episode, I wanted to look at the Kevlon Anderson argument. I think as we come, we're coming into the last day. By the time everybody watches this, we will be on the last day, the final day of this year's West Indies Championship. As things currently stand, without Kevlon getting the second chance to bat, which he may well go on to do later today on day 4, he is the second highest run scorer in the West Indies Championship. As things stand, Jamal Hamilton is top, Anderson is second, and Jason Mohammed is third. Now, obviously, Jason Mohammed also could be batting later today, given that Trinidad are 100 and odd for 2. With Cephas Cooper and Brian Charles at the crease, with Mohammed, Josh De Silva, etc. to come into bat. So this match could actually end with Jason Mohammed being the top run scorer by the end of this season. It could end with Kevlon Anderson being top run scorer by the end of this particular season. We shall see. But as things stand at the moment, like say, Jamal Hamilton is the top run scorer. Now, if there has been, and I should just say, because people say, Mash, haven't you heard the news? Well, Caribbean Cricket Podcast has tweeted about the news this morning. There is news coming out of the Trinidad and Guyana game, where, as we understand it, and obviously there's going to be a press release that will follow at some point in the next 48 hours, you would imagine. As we understand it, Guyana were called up or pulled up twice by the on-field umpires about the state of the ball in the match versus Trinidad. As we understand it, one player has been charged for altering the condition of the match ball. As we understand it, Guyana have already been docked penalty runs for altering the condition of the match ball. That might not be the correct legal term. So I don't know if legal is the right word, but that might not be the correct cricketing rule term. And when we get the full kind of dissemination from Cricket West Indies after they've read the full match report, obviously everything will come out in the tea leaves as to what exactly and what terminology was used. But like I say, as we understand it, a player has definitely been charged. Penalty runs have been put on the Ghana Harper Eagles. But what is unclear to me is, I've been told that twice the umpires have queried what Guyana have possibly been doing to the match ball. And there's visual footage. Go onto our X handle. We've retweeted the footage from the stream where even the commentators are saying it looks like the umpires are speaking to the Ghana players about potential ball, what us old heads refer to as ball tampering. So there's going to be some big news coming out of this game, whatever. But for the rest and remainder of this particular stream, I just want to talk about Kevlon Anderson. Now, during the course of this season, I have lost count of the number of Facebook posts, comments underneath our videos, replies on X, DMs on Insta, whatever it might be, comments in the live shows, whatever it might be, I have lost count of the number of people who have said to me at some point this season, Kevlon Anderson should be in the West Indies Test team. Kevlon Anderson should be called up for the West Indies Test versus Australia. Now, I'm just going to put my cards out there from the very beginning of the video. I think that's a ridiculous idea. Now, does that mean that Darren Sammy won't do it? No. Does that mean that Avanesh, as analysts, won't say Darren Sammy? Actually, based on the things that I've looked at, the metrics I've looked at, and this, that, and the third, he might be a good shout for a particular role that Darren Sammy envisages within the testing. Those things could happen. Sammy could end up picking this guy. So when I say I'm not in support of it, I'm just talking about me. Will Darren Sammy end up picking Kevlon Anderson? Who knows? Who knows? He may well end up picking Kevlon Anderson. However, this is the cautionary tale that I want to just kind of raise with people here. I think the first thing we have to do is we have to pull Kevlon's numbers. Because when people talk to me, they often cite the numbers, right? And they go, oh, he's having an amazing season. Yes, he is. They'll go, oh, he's averaging over 40. What other West Indian player do you know in the last 25 years that has really averaged over 40 in our domestic championship over a regular period of time? And there's some level of strength to that argument. So I hear it. But you see me, I'm never a guy who just pulls the kind of front facing first number. I never just focus on the first number that you see, because I'm like, yeah, but let's look deeper. Let's go look at how deep the marination has been. Now, let me remind people of what happened this time last year. This time last year, Mikyle Louis topped the run charts in the West Indies Championship. He got 600 something runs. Brathwaite was second with 580 odd, but Mikyle topped it with 600 and something runs, like 640, 650, right? This time last year, the same thing as what's happened with Kevlon Anderson happened this time last year. A bagger man said, boy, Mikyle Louis should be in the test team. He should go to England. He's topped the runs charts. He scored bare hundreds. He should go to England. Go check the receipts, people. Go check the Caribbean Cricket Podcast receipts. On the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Santoki and I did plenty of shows around that time. We did a show looking at who should open in England. We did shows looking at the West Indies Championship, and we were consistent. We said we don't think it's a good idea to put Mikyle Louis into the test squad. We said he's a young youth, around 24 years of age, same as Kevlon Anderson. He's a young youth, around 24 years of age. He's not played enough first-class matches to know if he's the real deal yet. Yes, he's just dominated the championship. Yes, there's a bit of pressure on Tajan. That we're talking about 2024. Yes, there's some pressure on Tajan and Ryan Shandapur, but do you really want to throw a youth man who's had one good season straight into the highest level of cricket against England in English conditions? Bear man messaging us going, nah, he's got to play. He's got to play. Look how many hundreds he scored. He dominated the championship. That's enough. So said, so done. Off the back of 7 first-class championship matches, Mikyle Louis was put into the West Indies test team. Went to England. I think he came out of England averaging, low 20s, like 23, 24. I have to go back and double check, but it was low 20s. He has subsequently played against England away, South Africa at home, Bangladesh at home. I'm missing someone. Pakistan away. I think those have been his 4 series so far: England, South Africa, Bangladesh, Pakistan. And after his 4 series so far, Mikyle is averaging, I want to say it's 19. Let me just double check that, people, because off the top of my dome, without making sure I'm certain, I think Mikyle Louis is averaging 19 in Test cricket. So let me just double check that as I'm talking. He is averaging, there you go, 20. In fact, 19.8 to 20. So Mikyle Louis has now played 9 Test matches after a groundswell of public opinion said, get this guy into the Test side, right? And after 9 Test matches, he averages 20 with 250s, 18 innings, 250s, an average of 20. I can't say I'm surprised. Not because Mikyle Louis is a bad cricket player, because again, he's scored runs this season as well, right? So it's not that Mikyle Louis is a bad cricket player, but at the time, Santoki and myself were like, I beg you don't put this man in the test team yet. It might mash up his development. So we fast forward to 2025, 1 year later, and the cricket public in the Caribbean just I've got to call it desperation. On the last video I did, I spoke about the fact how some of you are addicted to, whenever you see anybody taking wickets or anybody scoring any kind of runs, volumes of runs, you don't look at context. I think some of you have got like instant porn gratification. Like you just want that next hit. Like a drug addict, you're looking for that next hit, that next shot of dopamine that will make you think, yeah, he's the one. And because we've gone 25 years not being able to find a batter, people just grab onto anyone or anything that shows them that maybe there's the answer, maybe that guy's the answer. And if you strip away all levels of context, all levels of rational analysis, and just go, he scored the runs now, he's the one. Now, I've said this on previous videos. I've said this in reply to people who've messaged me, and they've said, but Mash, is different for Kevlon Anderson. He's played 20 matches. It's different for him. He's done it over a longer period of time, so he's not the same as Mikyle Louis. So I said, okay, cool. Let me delve into the 20 matches. All I'm going to do, people, is present some information. You do with that information what you want. This isn't me saying that Mikyle Louis should not play for the West Indies. I'm just going to present the facts, and you decide after I've presented the facts if you still think Mikyle Louis should be in the West Indies Test match squad or team against Australia. Here we go. So, correctly as people have pointed out to me, Mikyle Louis has now played 20 first-class matches at an average of 48. These are the 20 first-class matches that he's played. 14. Sorry, people. 2, 4. Right. As I understand it, I could be missing some matches out. But based on my statistical crunching, let me just check something, because I'm not even sure where the 20 have come from. Because I'm looking at my numbers and I count 18. So let me just check something to see if I've missed 2 matches. Bear with me, people. But I will still give you the stats and the facts of it all. And you can do with that information what you want. Okay, bear with me, people. Let me just find it. I may have just want to double check that the numbers I'm giving you. So 20 first class matches, might even be 21 now if we're counting today's one, in fairness. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Sorry, I knew I'd missed something out. Okay, yes, right. Here we go. Yeah, it's 20. Okay. Here's right. Okay, I'd even missed some data out. Okay, just as well I checked, people, because I wanted to make sure. So it's 21 first class matches, 14 for 18, 21 first class matches at the moment, people, and he is averaging 48 as things currently stand. Now, here's the stats and the facts I'm just going to give you for his first class matches. In 2022, 2023, Kevlon played 3 matches for the West Indies Academy. Or is it Guyana? No, sorry. For Guyana. Sorry, not West Indies Academy. He played 3 matches for Guyana in the 2022-2023 season. He averaged 21 with a high score of 36. Okay. Please get a piece of paper and write this stuff down as I go along. None of this is me saying that he doesn't have a good technique. None of this is me saying he doesn't have a good defense. None of this is me saying that that you can look at Kevlon Anderson with the eye test and say, but I think he's got the raw attributes that are needed. I'm not doubting some of that stuff. And again, let me just state, I do believe that Kevlon has the ingredients that will make him become someone who should play for the West Indies Test side at some point in the near future. What I'm arguing against is throwing him into the lion's den now. But let me just give you the numbers. 2022-2023, 3 matches, average of 21, high score 36. That was for Guyana. At the end of that season, that was the first time that the West Indies Academy were involved in that Headley Week series, right? You may remember it, some of you. He played those 2 matches against Team Bravo, and I can't remember what the other team was called. And he played 2 matches in that Headley Week series. This is when the first time people even knew who he really was. He scored 153 in the 3 innings. Sorry, 195 runs overall, but in one of the 3 innings he batted in that Headley Week series, he scored 153. Okay, so that's his first class 100, and that turned a few heads that in that Headley Week series. Cool. Then the next time he played red ball cricket, he played in the West Indies Academy versus Island Emerging Players series. In that series, he played 2 matches, again, batted 3 innings, scored a total of 208 runs with a high score of 125. So he scored another century in that Emerging Players series, right? And he also got a 50. I think he got a 79, or he got 79. in one of the other innings. So he left that series versus Ireland's emerging team with an average of 69, notched up his second first class 50 and his second first class 100 and his first class 50, right? So just to keep record, so after 7 first class games, he had 2 first class hundreds and 1 50. One of those first class hundreds and one of those 50s was against Ireland's emerging team. So think of it as Ireland's young youth team, because it was West Indies Academy, which is our young youth team, versus Ireland's young youth team. Now, me personally, I'm not discrediting the fact that Kevlon scored 100 and a 50 against the Ireland young youths, but I am saying I don't think you can use that data as a metric to say Kevlon has proven himself. It's all part of his developmental cycle, but you have to understand that most of our current test team wouldn't have had the chance to play against Ireland young youths. So I'm very wary of using that series as a metric to say, but he's got X amount of first class hundreds, because that's a very specific youth man series, if you catch my drift. But the numbers are there all the same. The following first class championship, this is last season's first class championship. Again, he plays for Guyana. He played all 7 matches and he averaged 33. He scored no hundreds in that season. He scored 150 with a high score of 87. So last season in the first class championship, he played all season, scored no hundreds, got 150. To put this in perspective, before this year's first class championship, Kevlon had played 10 games in the first class championship. I'm not including Headley weeks yet. He'd played 10 games in the first class championship for Guyana, and scored 150 in those 10 games. Up until this season, no hundreds. Okay, I'll say that again. I'm not talking about emerging Ireland thing. I'm not talking about Headley weeks. I'm talking about the first class championship. So in the 10 first class championship games prior to this season, Kevlon hadn't scored 100 for Guyana. He'd scored 150, that 87 last year. Cool. This season, and this is why I keep saying to everyone who messages me, I keep saying, this is his breakout season. This isn't a season where I go, and this is backing up performance after performance after performance after performance. For me, this season is his Mikyle Louis breakout season. When Mikyle Louis had his breakout season, I said, cool, great, let's let him marinate. Don't put him into the West Indies test team yet. If you want to take him to England, cool, let him be the backup opener in case of emergency, but don't put him in the test team yet. That will likely hinder his development. So said, so done. This season, Kevlon Anderson, he's currently playing in his final game, will probably get one, may or may not get one more innings today on day 4. He has played 7 matches, 11 innings at the crease. He's scored a total of 573 runs, like I say, second in this year's championship. He's scored 300s, 350s, and he's averaging 72. Now, that's phenomenal. I ain't going to front. That's a brilliant return for a young youth. So right now in Kevlon's career, based after this season, he now has 5 first-class hundreds and 5 first-class 50s. One of those hundreds and one of those 50s was against Ireland youth men. So to me, I don't really recognize that as showing you're ready for test level. But if I take that one away, for example, it leaves you with 4 first-class hundreds and 4 first-class 50s. But the problem is 3 of those, of the hundreds, and 3 of those 50s have all come this season. Fundamentally, what I'm saying to you all is, I'd like to say, I think we have to move away from the notion that I don't think it's setting a high enough standard if you're basically saying to every cricketer, if you have one brilliant season, you just go straight into the West Indies team. For me, the next natural step for Kevlon Anderson is he now plays for the A team. We have an upcoming 2 unofficial test matches versus South Africa A and 3 unofficial ODIs versus South Africa A. You put him in the squad for those. and you wait to see, okay, because to me, South Africa are coming here with a strong squad. They're coming here with any player who's not currently playing IPL or PSL because they have the World Test Championship coming up against Australia. So they'll come here with the strongest squad they can possibly bring because it's brilliant preparation for the World Test Championship final. So you'll see players like Tony DeZorzi and them man who don't get franchise deals, but are obviously in the test squad, right? Who's that wicketkeeper? Carl Verreynne. I would expect to see him because he's not going to be in, unless he's got a county deal. He's not going to be in any franchise league anywhere at current, right? So if Kevlon Anderson can translate what he's done in this year's West Indies Championship, his breakout season, into domination at the A team level versus South Africa A, then I'll return to the conversation. Then I'll say to people, you know what? You know what? I might have to put him in the test squad, you know. But if we're basing it purely off the first class championship, he doesn't get in my test squad because he's 24 years old. Because he's 24 years old, and I'm not saying that that means he's not I'm not saying because he's 24 years old he's not good enough. What I am saying is let him marinate. Can he back that season up with a not with like a standout season in Super 50 as well, and or another standout season in West Indies Championship? And to be fair, in last season Super 50, he did average 37 with 250s, right? So I just want us to get to a stage in West Indies cricket where we're not where we're not doing short-term reactionism, where we see a guy do really well and then go straight into the test team because if it's based on that, right? If we're basing it purely on what Kevlon Anderson's done brilliantly this season, the majority of the first class hundreds and fifties that he scored in his career to date have all come in this season. If we're saying that that makes Kevlon Anderson good enough to get into the West Indies test team with no A-team cricket behind him, knowing that there's an A-team tour coming up, right, where he can prove himself at a higher level, then let's call Jamal Hamilton up then, because Jamal Hamilton is currently the top run scorer in this year's championship. So where's the groundswell of opinion to say get Jamal Hamilton into the test team? Let's put Jamal Hamilton in the test team instead of Tevin Imlat then, because Jamal Hamilton's outscoring him. Jamal Hamilton's the top run scorer in this year's championship. Let's put him in the test squad. Furthermore, let's put Jason Mohammed in the test squad because he's the third highest run scorer. He scored 3 centuries as well. Do you see where this goes? Do you see what we could end up doing here if we just react purely on someone has a top season straight into the test match squad? And here's the thing. Let's not get this twisted. There's bare people in that current test match 11, the ones who went to Pakistan, where I'm looking at them with a side eye thinking, Darren Sammy might have to drop you, because you've come back to the championship and you ain't really putting up the numbers that are becoming of a test match batter. So spots may well open. But that doesn't mean you give it to the next latest thing you're seeing. You've got to dig a bit deeper. You've got to think about long-term development. Would this be the best thing for Kevlon Anderson if we put him into the test match team versus Australia, the world test champions? Would that be the best thing for him? And then what happened if he flopped? Now you've got to do what we do with Mikyle Louis. We're like, but it's Australia. So when Mikyle flopped versus England, it was like, but it's England. We've seen enough signs. We've got to believe in him. South Africa didn't. I think he got 90 on the end. South Africa, to be fair to him. Bangladesh, Pakistan, and then you put yourself into a cycle where it's like, but we've got to give them more time. We've got to give them more time. But games don't get easier. We start with Australia at home, then India away. Games won't get easier. So my thing is, if you're gonna throw a young youth into the Lions' den, at least let him have full marination and preparation at all levels of cricket that he can possibly play before you throw him in. Let's see if he can do it. Anyways, I'm sure some of you won't agree. I've got to go. About to leave the house, go get ready. Bromley are playing Port Vale away today, so you done know already. I've got to go travel. So people, let me know. Get in the comments below. What do you think about all of that? Kevlon Anderson, should he be in the test team for the first test versus Australia? I've been Machel St. Patrick here at one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You know what to do by now. Like, share, subscribe. We're on all the social media handles. Just type Caribbean Cricket Podcast into Google and you can find us. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can use the Super Chat, Super Thanks function in the comments. that's an actual, probably an easier way to actually contribute. The better way for us, though, well, is it a better way? Might not even be, but you can become a patron. www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Every little bit helps and counts to keep the movement growing. Listen, I've got to go, people. Thank you for listening as ever, and I'll see you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.